There is something emotionally disturbing about Voyager's journey, not because it is dangerous, but because it is lonely. Truly lonely. Human beings are not designed to emotionally comprehend deep space. Our brains evolved for forests, oceans, voices, movement, weather, life. But space is psychologically unnatural. No sound, no wind, no smell, no atmosphere, no sense of direction. Only darkness stretching infinitely in every direction. And Voyager keeps moving deeper into it. At more than 61,000 kilometers per hour, fast enough to cross entire countries in minutes. Yet against the scale of interstellar space, that speed becomes almost meaningless, because space destroys human intuition. Voyager is currently the most distant human-made object ever built, and even now, it has not traveled even one light day away from Earth. Pause and think about how terrifying that actually is. Humanity considers Voyager unimaginably distant, but against the scale of the galaxy, it has barely stepped outside the front door. The nearest star system beyond our sun is Alpha Centauri. Voyager would need over 40,000 years to get there. 40,000 years. Human civilization itself is younger than that. Entire empires rose and collapsed within smaller periods of time, which means Voyager's journey between stars is longer than recorded human history. And suddenly, space no longer feels adventurous. It feels ancient, indifferent, unimaginably vast. There is a moment in Voyager's story that scientists describe almost casually, but emotionally, it is one of the most important moments in human history. Voyager crossed the heliopause, the invisible boundary where the sun's influence begins fading into interstellar space. Humanity created something that escaped the solar system. Tiny creatures on a small planet orbiting an ordinary star built a machine capable of entering the space between stars. That should feel impossible, and yet somehow, most people never think about it. Maybe because the scale is too large, or maybe because Voyager quietly forces humanity to confront something uncomfortable. We are very small, painfully small. Everything humanity has ever fought over exists on a thin layer of rock surrounding a tiny planet, and Voyager is already leaving it behind. From Voyager's perspective, Earth is no longer a world. It is a microscopic point lost in darkness. And perhaps that realization changes the meaning of civilization itself. Because when viewed from interstellar space, human conflicts begin looking temporary, fragile, almost absurd. In 1990, Voyager 1 performed one final act before continuing deeper into darkness. NASA commanded the spacecraft to turn around, not physically return, just look back. One final glance toward home. And what Voyager captured became one of the most haunting images in human history. Earth appeared as a tiny pale dot suspended in a beam of sunlight, almost invisible, a fraction of a pixel. Every human being who ever lived existed inside that tiny point. Every empire, every religion, every war, every love story, every invention, every dream, compressed into something smaller than dust against the cosmic scale. Carl Sagan later described the image in words that still emotionally disturb people decades later. Not because the image was beautiful, but because it revealed perspective, real perspective. Human beings spend their lives believing civilization is enormous. History feels enormous. Politics feels enormous. Personal struggles feel enormous. And then Voyager looked back from the edge of the solar system, and Earth almost disappeared entirely. That image did not just show humanity where it lives. It showed humanity how fragile it is, and perhaps even more unsettling, how temporary. Because one day, that pale blue dot will no longer exist, and Voyager may continue drifting long after Earth itself is gone, which creates a chilling possibility. One day, the only surviving evidence of humanity may not be on Earth at all. It may be floating alone between stars. Human beings naturally imagine the end of the world as sudden. Explosions, asteroids, nuclear fire, instant catastrophe. But the actual death of Earth will probably happen slowly, quietly, and somehow that feels more disturbing. About 1 billion years from now, the sun will gradually become hotter. Not violently, not dramatically, just enough to begin destabilizing Earth's climate. The oceans start evaporating, cloud systems disappear, carbon cycles collapse, the atmosphere changes, temperatures rise beyond survival. Earth slowly transforms into a dead world. And during all of this, Voyager keeps moving outward. Imagine that contrast, a dying planet, and far beyond it, a machine still carrying sounds of oceans that no longer exist. Then comes an even larger horror. 5 billion years from now, the sun itself begins dying. Stars are not eternal. Human beings emotionally treat the sun as permanent, but permanence does not exist in the universe. The sun will eventually exhaust the hydrogen fueling its core. Gravity and pressure begin changing. The outer layers expand. Mercury disappears. Venus burns. Earth may be swallowed entirely. Think about how psychologically impossible that feels. Every mountain, every ocean, every city, every memory, gone, consumed by stellar fire. And somewhere beyond this apocalypse, Voyager survives, still drifting, still carrying human voices, human laughter, human music, a dead civilization whispering into darkness. That image feels almost poetic, which is strange because it is scientifically real. Most people imagine galaxies as static objects, beautiful, calm, permanent. But galaxies are violent. Everything in the universe moves, nothing stays still. And in roughly 4 billion years, the Milky Way will collide with the Andromeda Galaxy. Two galaxies containing hundreds of billions of stars each begin merging into something entirely new. The night sky itself will become unrecognizable. Massive rivers of stars stretching across darkness. Solar systems flung into new trajectories. Entire regions of space reshaped by gravity. And Voyager? Voyager may still exist somewhere inside that transformed cosmic landscape. Tiny, frozen, silent. Imagine witnessing that. A machine built before personal computers existed, surviving long enough to drift through the aftermath of galactic collision. Human history feels ancient to us, but against cosmic time, it barely exists. That may be the most psychologically difficult truth in astronomy. The universe is not built on human scale. Civilizations feel permanent only because human lives are short. Against billions of years, entire species vanish instantly. Which means Voyager's journey is not merely long, it is operating on a completely different level of time itself. And the deeper we follow Voyager into the future, the stranger reality becomes. Now we enter a future beyond ordinary imagination. 1 trillion years. Human language barely functions at this scale. Civilizations become meaningless. Even stars begin disappearing. Because the universe itself evolves. Right now, we live during one of the brightest eras in cosmic history. Stars still burn, galaxies still glow, The universe still creates light, but this era will not last forever. Over unimaginable spans of time, stars slowly die. Galaxies darken. The universe becomes colder, lonelier, quieter. And Voyager continues drifting through all of it. Damaged by radiation, struck by microscopic particles, its systems long dead, its instruments silent, but still physically existing. That is what makes Voyager psychologically haunting. It transforms from technology into archaeology, a fossil from an extinct civilization, an object carrying emotional evidence that intelligent life once existed somewhere in the Milky Way. And maybe that is what humanity truly created. Not a spacecraft, a monument. The smallest monument ever built, yet one capable of surviving longer than mountains, longer than oceans, possibly longer than Earth itself. There is one final possibility hidden inside Voyager's future, a possibility both hopeful and deeply unsettling. What if someone finds it someday? Not tomorrow, not in our lifetime, maybe not for millions of years, but eventually. Imagine an alien civilization discovering Voyager drifting through interstellar darkness, a dead machine carrying sounds from a dead world. Would they understand what it is? Would they recognize the golden record as communication? Would they understand music, emotion, language? Or would humanity appear completely incomprehensible to them? The golden record contains humanity's self-portrait, but self-portraits are selective. We chose what to preserve. We chose what version of humanity would drift through the cosmos, not our wars, not our cruelty, not our failures. We preserved our beauty, our curiosity, our art, our hope. And maybe that reveals something uncomfortable. Even while facing infinite darkness, humanity desperately wanted to be understood, wanted to be remembered, wanted the universe itself to know we were alive. That emotional need may be one of the deepest characteristics of intelligent life. Not survival, meaning. Because Voyager was never necessary, humanity did not need to place greetings aboard a spacecraft. It changed nothing practically. And yet humans did it anyway. Because consciousness appears to carry a strange instinct. The instinct to leave traces behind, to resist disappearance, to whisper into eternity even when eternity may never answer. Right now, Voyager 1 is still moving, somewhere beyond the planets, beyond the warmth of the sun, beyond the ordinary human world. The spacecraft is old now, weak, its power fading, its systems slowly shutting down one by one. Eventually, NASA will lose contact completely. The final signal will arrive on Earth. Engineers will listen, and then silence. Permanent silence. Voyager will continue drifting alone with nobody left to hear it. That moment may become one of the loneliest moments in human history. Not because Voyager dies, but because humanity loses the ability to speak to one of its own creations. And after that, Voyager enters true isolation. No communication, no guidance, no destination. Only endless motion through darkness for millions, billions, possibly trillions of years. And maybe the most haunting realization of all is this. Voyager may ultimately outlive everything humanity believes defines civilization. Governments will disappear. Languages will vanish. Entire cultures will become dust. Even Earth itself may die. Yet Voyager could remain, a tiny, frozen witness carrying fragments of a lost species. As if the universe allowed humanity one final chance to leave fingerprints on eternity. And perhaps that is why Voyager's story feels emotional in a way ordinary science rarely does. Because Voyager forces humanity to confront scale, real scale. The scale where human history becomes microscopic, where civilizations appear and vanish instantly, where stars themselves eventually die. And yet somehow, against all of that cosmic indifference, humanity still tried to speak, still tried to leave meaning behind, still tried to say, we existed. Maybe that is the true story of Voyager 1. Not technology, not exploration, not astronomy, but mortality. A species aware enough to understand its own disappearance, still choosing to create something that could continue traveling long after it was gone. A machine escaping extinction, a whisper escaping time, a memory refusing to die. And somewhere tonight, while Earth spins beneath fragile clouds, Voyager 1 continues drifting silently through interstellar darkness, further away every second, carrying music from a world that may someday no longer exist, carrying languages future civilizations may never understand, carrying evidence that consciousness once appeared on a small planet orbiting an ordinary star. And perhaps the strangest part of all is that Voyager does not know any of this. It does not know it became humanity's final message. It does not know it became immortal. It does not know it became symbolic. It simply continues moving, endlessly, silently, through a universe so enormous that even memory itself may eventually disappear. But until then, Voyager remains, frozen between stars, a tiny artificial object carrying the emotional weight of an entire civilization, as if humanity looked into infinite darkness and refused to vanish quietly.